This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand, providing high-strength formulations to support recovery, elevate energy, and relieve joint inflammation for endurance athletes. Available now at pillarperformance.com.au. Welcome to episode number 227 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Massive show coming at you. I know I've said that before, but I think in our 227 episode history, this could be the biggest show we've put together. We're going to be talking to Jack Rayner over in the USA. Hopefully we have got an Olympic medalist on for the interview. Josh Kerr, the bronze medalist from the Tokyo Olympic Games over the 1500 metres. So that's a huge interview for us. A lot of running news, all the usual segments. Actually might cut a few because it's such an loaded agenda as it is. So thanks for downloading the show. Thanks for having us in your ears for the next, it's probably going to be 2 hours at least, this show. The interview, we might cut that too. I don't know. You can tell I'm making stuff up as I go here. Welcome to my co-host up in Canberra, Bradley Croker. How you going?
Good, Brady. Good. We've been on air for about an hour and we're just starting the show.
There's been a few things to do off to the side, ladies and gents, but it's all going to come together, I'm sure. And my other co-host, I think it's his 35th birthday today, Julian Spence, the businessman. Welcome to the show.
36.
36?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were a year older than me. You're 2 years older.
Oh, I don't know, but this is the first year that I felt old.
But Moose doesn't
36.
celebrate birthdays, so I haven't wished him happy birthday yet.
I wished him happy birthday at 7:30 this morning. The prick just doesn't even say thank you.
That's why I didn't even bother.
I know. What an absolute prick this guy is.
I just don't do it. I do it for some other people. I do it for...
What happens when your kid turns 5? He's going to be like, nah, I just don't do that. Or Pia comes up to you like, oh, Dad, here's your birthday. Here's a little card I made at school for you. You're just like, nah, I'm not even replying to that.
Pia, there's no significance to this date. It's the same as yesterday.
Hey, Brady, do you know what I can't wait for? What about when she gets invited to kids' birthday parties and he has to go along?
Oh,
He's going to hate that.
Tell you what we won't be doing, buying
bread.
presents. No presents.
These poor kids. You're going to have to
They'll just stop inviting us after a while.
Yeah, that's exactly what you'll want. It's been a big week in the world of distance running boys. So, grateful that you're here to talk about it with me. Let's start with our run and recaps. Let's go. I don't think we can talk about ourselves too much on this week's show because there's amazing things that have happened all over the world. So let's maybe whip through this. Croaks, do you want to go first?
Okay. So I had a bit of a up and down week. So I did an hour Monday afternoon, listened to the Derek Clayton interview on the Racing Heart podcast. I really enjoyed that.
I haven't got to it yet. It's really good.
It just makes you realise that this guy was running 2:08 in 1969, and it's like, imagine if any of our top runners now ran 2:08, they'd be like superstars, and this guy was doing it in 1969.
He ran an 11-minute PB.
Yeah,
didn't he? Oh no, sorry, that wasn't it. He ran the 2:09. He ran a 10-minute PB or something. Yeah,
just an animal. He's one of those guys, the mileage that he was running is just ridiculous. But it's interesting to hear that he's still in really, really good shape in his 70s. A really enjoyable podcast and interview, so I'd highly recommend that. Tuesday, I did 35 minutes on the treadmill Tuesday morning because I was feeling pretty fresh and thought, I'll do a double motivations high. So just chucked the treadmill on 12K an hour. So I did 7K, headed out to the track on Tuesday afternoon. And this is where the week the session was good, but the week went a bit pear-shaped after this. So my session was 8 by K off a minute rest. And the plan was to run them somewhere around 10-mile race pace, something like that. And there was 3 of us that were sort of taking turns of leading. And after the second rep, my lateral calf, so opposite calf to the one that went in December, but the same one that I had issues with in the Melbourne half in 2018, and a similar spot. It just got tight during that rep. And so during the recovery, I sort of just massaged that lateral band, and then I couldn't feel it for the rest of the session, but I was still just like a little bit worried that it had tightened up on rep 2. And like I think I averaged probably about 3:16s for each K. So like the slowest was 3:19, the quickest was like 3:12. Another one of those like really, really enjoyable sessions. Like felt like I could have done another 2, 3, 4 reps. More just becomes a bit of a grind on the legs, like just the volume. But in terms of the effort was there. The heart rate was an improvement on a couple of weeks ago when I did 6 of them. So that was pleasing. And then, when I finished the session and started cooling down, it felt a little bit tight and sore. And then the same thing that night. And because of what happened in December, I didn't want a repeat of that. So Wednesday, it wasn't sort of hot, but it was sore to touch. So I'm like, I'll just give it a day off. So I went to the gym and rode the bike for an hour or just over an hour. And then I decided to have Thursday off as well, just because I just didn't want like a 1 week injury to turn into 4 like it sort of did in December. So I took Thursday off as well. Friday, jumped on the treadmill, ran 50 minutes, felt completely fine, and the tenderness had started to go away. So I thought, all right, well, I can get through 50. I'll increase it a bit on Saturday. Did an hour out at Mulligan's, 425s. Calf was fine, no tenderness. Listened to the long and the short of it, episode 9. That afternoon, jumped on the treadmill for another 35 minutes, still completely pain-free. And then Sunday did 28K in just over 2 hours at 4:18s out at Mulligan's. Once again, calf was good. So I ran like just under 100K for the week, only one session, but dodged a bullet, and like it sucked not sort of, training the way that I wanted to, but, only missing 2 days of running and still getting through 100K, and my calf feels fine. So that's my week.
Jeez, I thought the Ingebrigtsen training got him midweek, Moose.
Oh, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, if my calf is like locking up on me at like, because rep 2 was like 3:17 pace, I'm like, this is not good. And because I feel like I've been training pretty smart. But, 2 days off.
There is a level of risk involved with 8x1K on the track, though. Like, it's a lot of laps. You're doing 20 laps.
Yeah, but it went on me rep 2.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I suppose.
And then I didn't feel it after that for the rest of the session. So anyway, we're all good now.
I did get a sense you're in a bit of a bad mood this week, so it's good you turn the page a bit, turn the corner.
That's what it's from. I was wondering busy. What it was from.
Yeah, been all right.
Just a real bar with us all week, Moose, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's getting dumped from every training group he's joined at the moment.
What do you mean?
The Ingos have got rid of you.
No, they haven't. No,
so I'm back on
the treadmill tomorrow for some 6-minute reps, and then I'm going to do some hills hopefully on Friday.
That'd be great for your calf hills.
Yeah, you got to do them hard too. They're the hard ones, remember?
That's the A workout hills, isn't it?
Yeah. It won't be an A this week. It'll just be easing into it.
All right, Moose, you had race week. Tell us about yours.
A bit of a tempo this week on the Sunday, but we'll talk about that. Monday morning just ran an hour up on the flat trails up towards Bells Beach. I was pretty beat up from that long run half race thing we did. And then I was going to run that afternoon, but I had like the business settlement. So that was kind of a big evening at the store. So yeah, I didn't get around to that running. And then that was pretty much the trend for the week, is that I had ambition to run more, but couldn't. So Tuesday morning was fit out day, so I was up pretty early, ran on the treadie for 40 minutes while the sun came up. And then once the sun sort of came up a bit, I jumped out and ran 20 minutes outside, so a full hour. And I was actually going to run that afternoon, but there was zero chance that I was in the store until very late. Like, had some good helpers, but did all the work we needed to. Got the new treadies in. What you guys saw the Instagram, didn't you? You like that?
Yeah, I saw the Instagram.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it on your.
No, I'm waiting for I told you I'll share it when I see something of Croaks and I in there. Just put our picture.
It is in there.
The picture of Berlin. Can you put that up? Put the picture of
the singlet. I got inside running singlet in there.
Have you?
Yeah, your names are on the roof.
Beautiful. I like that. Was it in the video?
I don't know. I didn't make the video. I can't
Come
make
on,
things
get
look
it.
good.
Yeah, just give me some kind of bit of just something for
Also,
my little
the
ego up
Geelong
here in my
top,
lima.
it's on the roof.
That is
The
my
Geelong
literally,
Tip
that
one-
is literally my
It actually
top.
is your top.
That
It
is my
actually
top. I
is.
paid for that
But
top, Brad, and they never
you
sent it
didn't
to
pay
me.
for it.
Did you hear about
paid
this?
the money.
I got
You
them,
never paid
got Geelong a premiership back in like 2013. They bought these. They made these tops to celebrate. Never sent me one.
Yeah. You did.
Ordered
I had no
one,
money received from
ordered
you.
one, paid for it, Brad. They never sent it to me. Now he's got it up in the store. So
I don't know. You've got to have it to take in singlets without paying, Brady.
Mate, I can't believe
Yeah,
it.
that's
Cannot
absolutely,
believe
Brad.
Can't
Anyway,
believe these tight asses down there.
everyone looks at that T-shirt, reads all the names, and goes, "Who's Brady Threlful?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right. Who is
Exactly.
Brady
The
Threlful?"
guy that ran here. Oh, jeez, I saved us that time. But I reckon I come fourth at Bundura that day, just in front of Nick
I
White.
reckon
Got us heaps of points.
You spent most of the year in Divi 2 and got called up one day.
Me and Craig Mottram in the relay team at Sandown. I don't know how you made that team actually that day. Anyway, ask Brett Coleman. I reckon I carried the team that year. So if any listeners are out there and you go into the new running company Geelong, first question you ask Moose when you go in the door is where is the sash from 2012 that Brady won at Stall that he's offered to have in the shop. You won't see it there because he hasn't paid me yet any contract money to have it for a lease for 12 months. Second thing you ask him is that Brady's T-shirt on the roof?
Brad, have a listen to this.
Yeah, I know.
He's made my new running store about him somehow.
He thinks that handing over the sash is like somebody donating something to the Australian Museum.
It is. Do you know how hard it is to win a sash at Stall?
Hey?
People go
Comparing
their
his-
whole lives trying to win it.
Comparing his sash to Herb Elliott's gold medal that's in some museum.
Mate, you guys don't understand the significance of Stall. You'll see it in a few weeks when you get down there. But some people say they're harder to win than gold medals at the Olympics. I don't exactly agree with that, but some people say that.
Jeez, you're up and about tonight, aren't you?
No, Jesus.
Well, we've been recording for about an hour to get to this stage. We've already had 2
All right,
beers, so it could
tell
be a
us-
long
tell us-
episode.
Tell us what you did next.
I ran on the treadie the next morning and then ran in the after work down around some old loops near my house. It was pretty warm. Didn't wear my heart rate, so actually lost track of how hard I was working. Next morning, got out early, ran in the dark from start to finish, dark the whole time. Didn't love that. So there's like when you run in the dark, everything feels so much faster than what it is.
It does. Yep.
It's
Agree.
it's crazy. Actually, later start the next day, so got out for an hour. My goal was to run an hour minimum for the day, and then I was getting too pumped during the day working. Like it's just flat knacker the whole time, so I don't really get a chance in the afternoon because once the store shuts, I have to stay back, do all the admin work until late, and then I want to get home, see Pia before she goes to sleep. So it's like, and I cannot exercise after dinner. Like there are some people that run at 8 p.m. That's impossible to me. I can't do that.
Or the people that exercise at like 8 p.m. and then eat at 9 p.m. I'd struggle to do that as well.
That affects
No
your
way.
sleep massively too. That's what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. When you do those later runs, then it affects your sleep, and then it just snowballs.
Yeah. If I'm not run by like 6, I'm probably not running. Well, I'm not running. I can tell you right now, I'm not running. Anyway, full treadmill hour we had some awful weather. I know there's been some. Actually, I'll probably not complain about the weather down here, but we had an hour of an hour treadmill run on Saturday morning, and then a big day in the store. So Sunday morning, I actually was I felt shit all week, like garbage, because my sleep's been cut probably by 1 to 2 hours a night, and so by Saturday I was like probably missing 10 hours of sleep.
Excuse number one. Let's keep a count, Brady.
Yeah, so, but no, I said Saturday afternoon, I actually felt good. Like my back had loosened up. I felt poppy again. I'm like, I might be on tomorrow. There's no expectation. I'm just an old hack now, not expected to do anything well. Been a big week for me, lack of sleep, just working my fingers off. So,
Mate, you're an Australian representative. You've broken 30 minutes for 10K. You are legit.
So I've been doing very little training.
You've been going right for a while now.
I was like, okay, well, I've got some good runners that are showing up tomorrow. So what I'll do is I'll just see how long I can hang out with them. And they're very well coached runners too, most of them. So this is how you want to hear a quick recap of the race. So we went out pretty gentle. Had Toby on my right, Toby Mende. He beat you at Melbourne, Brady. And then Matt Gunther on my left. He was just behind you at Melbourne, but would probably beat you at the moment. And then
How many kids you got?
We got Ferg. So Andrew Ferguson, I reckon he'd probably beat you. He's an old bull. Yeah.
Why are you comparing guys that have beaten you to if they could beat me or not?
I could beat you at the moment.
Plug your microphone in. You're dropping out.
Oh, these mics are terrible anyway.
We still can't hear. All your jokes are going nowhere.
Can you hear me now?
Not very well.
All right. Is that better?
That's better.
Well, that's good. $80 well spent. So I thought I was going okay, but I hadn't raced very much at all for a long time. And so we were running together, Matt and Toby and I, until 5K. And we went through 5K. I looked down, it was 16 minutes flat. And I thought, okay, most of the time at this point, I put in a bit of a surge and I run a bit faster and I can pull it off. So I put in a bit of a surge and I ran a couple of faster kilometres. I was at the front. And then we got over the bridge with about 3K to go and I took off again and put in a little surge. And that's when Toby took off past me. And I thought, I'll go with Toby here. And Matt was dropped at that point. And about 200 metres down the trail, I'm like, oh boy, I'll fuck this one up pretty good because I just couldn't go fast anymore. All of a sudden, like my body just stopped being able to generate the same momentum that it could like a minute ago.
Was that the 323K?
Yeah, is that what it was? 6 to 7?
Oh no, that was your 9th K.
9th K was me waiting for Fergs to pass me, and he got me at about 8.5, I reckon. Ferg all of a sudden just bounces past me like, "How you going, mate?" I'm like, I was battling, and this is the best excuse in the book right here, but I'm going to stand by it. I wore a heart rate strap, and it gave me a stitch. I had a stitch at the 7K mark. And I couldn't breathe properly. And I was thinking about just tossing my heart rate monitor in the river. I'm like, this is the last time I wear a heart rate for a race ever.
Hey, Brady, what has Moose always said when people use the excuse of a stitch?
Didn't prepare well enough.
Yeah, but
they're running above their ability.
They're making other mistakes.
No, not when you got a heart rate monitor. What the heart rate does is it compresses your diaphragm, so you can't get enough air in. And so it creates a stitch. And so I'm going to stand by that excuse. Look, I didn't tell the boys on the day, so they're going to be upset to hear this, but that's what it was. And it makes me feel a lot better. I finished the race.
Hey, it's a starting point. And I noticed you didn't even run 10K.
I'm very good on this course. A little local knowledge took a few meters off the course here and there. Stay inside the cones and it's safe, but the others went the long way around. And I found a few little sneaky bits to...
It's not a fast course. It's bike pass and stuff, isn't it?
Fast.
But is this data good for you, Moose, where you realise sort of what shape you're in and maybe you adjust your paces like for sessions?
Yeah. Well, it was perfect for me because I literally got to 7K and I'm like, I think I'm going okay here because I don't know how fit I am. But then I basically just raced as hard as I could the whole way and it got me to 7K. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't do this. This isn't an effort that's sustainable for 10K right now. But I need to learn that more. I've fallen out of tune with that. It's been so long since I've raced consistently that I don't know how hard to push during races because I don't know how long I can pull it off for. So really I should be listening to this and going, okay, next time I race, I'll recognise that this effort I'm putting out here is a 7K effort. It's not a 10K effort. I need to probably back it off. And I made, like in retrospect, I was the one who was pushing the pace the entire way until 7K. And there were multiple times where I made like surgy moves to try and see if I felt good that I didn't need to do.
Still thinking you're the big dog when you're not the big dog.
That's what's happened there.
Well,
those guys would have been licking their lips at that too, wouldn't they? They're like, oh, Moose is going to do all the work. You should have waved them through, saying, do some work, fellas. That was the same thing with both those guys at Melbourne. They hate doing work, those two guys.
Gunther said at 7K, he'd conceded defeat to me. At 7.2K, he was 100 metres ahead of me. That's how quickly things change in races. But yeah, no, it was good. So good day for the coach. Gunther second, Ferg third. Toby, bit of a mentor to Toby, I reckon.
Hey, what were the winning times?
31:30, and jeez. Toby had run 20K or so beforehand. And I ran 32:06, I think, 32, and that's not great. But I don't really.
That's good from Toby off the back of a long run, a 20K. He's fit.
He did. I mean, he just sat on me for 7K and then burst it home. He's going real well. And when I look back on it, you've got Toby who's
he ran 14:30 the other night in a windy night. Going pretty good. He ran with Archie as well. Like Archie's pretty fit.
Yeah, Gunther's like a 14, probably in 14:40 shape maybe, and then Ferg like probably the best Masters athlete in the country right now. So that's not bad coming fourth. It's a high quality field.
I'm whipping through my week. Did an easy hour on Monday, 4:29 pace, and then I got out for 30 minutes in the afternoon. Well, it was kind of like 20 minutes, and then I changed into my flats and just did 6 20-second strides. Pretty quick. Like just gotta keep in touch with that speed, fellas, because we've got Stall Gift coming up in a couple of weeks. So I just didn't want to neglect that kind of like top end speed. So pretty much 9 out of 10 effort for 20 seconds. 20 seconds goes pretty quick. Minute jog in between. Kind of enjoy doing that at the end of an easy run as well. And I like having the easier Monday morning off the back of the Sunday long run. And then, yeah, you can do this in the afternoon when you're a bit more recovered. Tuesday, met up with Archie. I did 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, all at kind of threshold, like 4:13 pace, just right in that 165 beats per minute kind of line. I had 2 minutes jog between the 10 and the 8 minutes and 90 seconds between the 6, the 4 and the 2. And I was proud of myself in this one because I didn't get carried away when the reps get shorter. I just kind of kept them at threshold. So that was good. I enjoyed that workout. That was 10.8K at 3:26 in total there. Everything looking good with the data. Easy 30 minutes at 4:26 in the afternoon Tuesday. Wednesday, full recovery day, 50 minutes in the morning at 4:44s and then 30 minutes in the afternoon at 4:30s. Thursday, got out for that medium long run. I also listened to the long and the short of it. I enjoyed Isaac Hayne on there. He's pretty good, isn't he, Croaks?
Speaks well. Speaks
well for a young fella, like pretty mature. He was really good to listen to on there. So I got out for 95 minutes, which was 22.7K at 4:11 pace. Enjoyed listening to him. 30 minutes in the afternoon at 4:35s. And then on Friday, second workout of the week, I did a fartlek, 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute times 3, all with 1 minute jog between, and tried to go through the gears a bit. So for the 3 minutes, I was kind of like 3:02s, 3:03s. 2 minutes was around 3 minute pace, and the 1 minutes were 2:50, 2:53 kind of pace there. Not sure how accurate that is with a minute GPS data there. So that was nice, felt good, felt in control. 1 minute jog between it all, brought it to 26 minutes. Good little fartlek, good little bang for the buck workout before work on a Friday. Got out for a quick half an hour after work. Saw 2 weddings, boys. 2 weddings happening on Friday afternoon down at Chuka, down near the river there. One of them had the old horse and cart, like with the white horses. And the guy that looks like the conductor off Thomas the Tank Engine. He was like driving the cart. That's pretty good. I was enjoying that.
Remember?
Yeah, that's pretty cool seeing that. Hadn't seen that in a long time, if ever, I reckon. That's pretty nice. Friday night, though, had a shocking night's sleep. So I just did 30 minutes on the Saturday, and then we had to go to Bendigo and back for a family function. So travelling with kids, that's always a bit rough. Rough night's sleep the night before. I did have planned to do another double in the afternoon, but I just cut it because I didn't want to push the envelope a bit there because I was pretty tired. And then Sunday, got out solo, listened to this week's interview, which nearly goes for 2 hours. So I listened to pretty much most of it on this long run. Did 2 hours and 5 minutes. What did I average? 4:06 pace, 30.5K. And that was nice. Just, getting lost in thoughts whilst the podcast was going. It's a very good interview. I think you'll hear half of it this week. So, that got me through that one. And that was 150K for the week. 3 weeks now, I think. It may be like 140K average. So we're back building nicely. Starting to plug in a few little races for April, May. Starting to put a few things on the radar. I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. Nothing sexy there, fellas, but a nice little week.
Good job, Brady.
Thanks, boys. Cheers. Appreciate that. Let's move on. Oh, actually, Moose, I did have something to ask you, but I was quickly getting something done in the background there. You, serious question, because I've been talking a bit of shit early on in this episode, but you're very... went to the World Champs, ran some fast times, did that good 15K at Ballarat. But since running those times, and probably would have ran close to 2:11, 2:12 at London if you didn't get maybe injured and then the race didn't get cancelled for COVID.
Very
anyway.
generous, but thank you.
No, you were fine doing some of that stuff. I remember listening to your weekly recaps thinking this guy's ready to maybe make that next move. I always
Brady,
ask...
You're not getting that shirt, mate.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you butter him up.
I'm buttering up now
It's
to
getting
then
close,
come in.
Brad.
Then to
It's
come
getting
in.
close.
Got to start.
209 move? What about if you said 209?
I always ask people that I start coaching, like, what balls have they got in the air? What stress have you got in life? Since that stage in your life, you've got a child now and you've got a new business, which are two big, significant balls that you've now got in the air that you didn't have back then. And you turned 36 today. Do you look at this now and think, like, how are you going to get back to that without sounding like you're not going to get back to it? But obviously now it's going to be more challenging to get back to that.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do to manage it?
So, like this morning, I had this this is what I was thinking on my run. I was running along,
So was
and my entire run was thinking about work because there's so much to do right now. And and as I was jogging down a hill, I'm like, I think this is it. And I'm really okay with that. Like, I'm not really happy with running the times that I did, but I can't, and I'm just like, I was out there for 1 hour. That's it. Running through the bush, slow pace, didn't see anybody. I'm like, you know what? I'd be content doing this every day forever now, just running in the bush and not doing workouts. Because at the moment, I cannot see a path back, like, just because of the amount of work and the amount of stress currently that's in my world. I can't see a way back, and because I know what I had to do, and there are some examples of it happening. Like, there are some full-time workers who have families, but I do think it's different with your own business. I think what I'm noticing is, like, the amount of work that Bree used to do for me while she was at work, and now that she's not, like, I'm having to do the work of both of us. So that's noticeable. I was working less days in the store beforehand, and I was able to recover, relax, do my key workouts. I didn't have to stay late at work. I was like, we weren't quite busy enough where I had to stay back and do extra work. Whereas now it's inevitable. Like, every night I stay back, do work, and during the day, just at the moment while I build the business back and I retrain staff and I get the culture and I get the systems in place at this new store that's required for it to be like a high performance environment, it's going to take away from my running. And I think I have to come to terms with that, because if I try to run 100-mile weeks on top of 10 to 12-hour work days, and then something's going to give, and it's probably going to be like, yeah, exactly. So I'm happy for it to be my running for a while. And if I can maintain some stuff with an hour a day, sometimes 90 minutes a day, then maybe there'll be an opportunity in the future, maybe even later this year, where I can actually focus on some running and see what comes of it. But at the moment, I'm quite content.
I think it's important that you name it and don't try to push through, because people do that and then something does end up breaking. Like, could be, your body because you train too hard, or a relationship or a business or whatever it is. So it's pretty cool that you've identified it, and and then, which is why I asked the question, because I'm like, I wonder if this has come across his radar kind of thing.
Oh, it absolutely has. It absolutely has, and it's coming to terms with it, because for a while there I did want to continue to run at a high level, and not just at a high level, but I wanted to progress where I was and make teams and all that. But it's just not like, this is our future. This store is our future. This is our end game. And if I don't get it right, like, there's a lot of people that rely on this going well. My family relies on this store doing well, and it's going to take work, effort, time, everything to ensure its success. So that's what I invest in now, rather than my running.
Yeah. So you're kind of saying, like, you're sacrificing this, possibly the last 3 or 4 years of this window for that.
Yeah. Like, at the moment I am.
Yeah.
And that's
but that could
all
change
right.
in a couple of weeks' time when things get in a routine. Like, obviously the first week's going to be pretty hard.
I'm going to say months. I'm going to say there'll be a few months of it, and I'm not sure what the future holds, but it might. Like, I've got an idea to do Gold Coast Marathon, but I know that running a marathon for me off 120k a week is not going to achieve the same sort of things that I had aspirations to do in the past. I'll get it done, but even like within my training group, like I might be a mid-packer doing that sort of stuff. So it'll be, I think, late in the year, maybe next year, where if everything gets in order, I might be able to sneak another day off. Because at the moment I'm working 7 days and 7 long days as well. So it's not possible to be an athlete like I was.
Thanks for the honesty. Let's thank some Patreon supporters, Croaks, kick us off.
All right, I've got Hugh Stobart. Hugh lives in West Norwood, which is in London. He's run 3:21 for the marathon, which was at the Chelmsford Marathon, 80 minutes at the big half, 36:13 for a 10K, and 17:25 for 5K. Does reps with the Windrush Club and also does a bit of biking as well. So thanks for your support, Hugh.
Thanks, Hugh. Who you got, Moose?
Well, sort of stitched her up a bit here, but Simone McGuinness. She popped up on your list?
This is the girl from last week. You said you coach her and she hasn't been thanked yet.
Yeah, but she didn't appreciate last week's shout out. So
this is the official one this week. Last week was the impromptu one. Oh, did you want me to get some facts for you?
No, I think I should remember something. Yeah, she ran under 35 minutes for 10K. She ran 76 minutes at Melbourne Half. She used to be a elite level walker. Used to go on like training camps all over. Did all they love studies. Those walkers, they love to get in and do weird hydration studies and stuff. But she's training she runs now, so she's training for Gold Coast Marathon. She's got a sister who listens. Her sister listens to the show. She's got bad hips, apparently. That's all I've got.
Will that be her
debut marathon? Yeah. Debut marathon. So what do you think? 70?
I think she comes third at the 5K Frenzy the other week.
Oh, yeah, not a great race. 76 minutes for a half. What do you think that translates to?
240, 240-ish.
240. That's a good debut. Take that.
Yeah.
Don't have to run it. Take that.
Take that instead. I'm going to thank Bradley Courtney Pinn from London. He's quick. He's got an IAAF profile, fellas. Hard to get an IAAF profile. 15:32 for 5K, 32:29 for 10K, 62 for the half, and he ran 2:32.
62 for the half? That's flying.
What did I say? 69 for the half.
You said 62.
2:32 for the full at Seville a couple of weeks ago, Seville Marathon. So that's I think that was his debut, maybe. No, he definitely ran. I think he ran London before that as well. So he'd be recovering at the moment off that race. Represents the Belgrave Athletics Club over there in London, which is friend of the show, I think. That's a friend club of the show. I think we've talked about them before. A few Australians rep those guys over there. So
I love that. I love we got all these British listeners that don't really listen to the Inside Jogging podcast.
Yeah, I haven't heard these names come up when they got their patrons.
We're just like they they appreciate a little bit of like expertise, a little bit of organisation within their podcast.
Maybe just appreciate one of the co-hosts, or both the co-hosts actually rocking up, not walking around the streets.
That's right. And then you can just hear them. They're actually watching. They talk about themselves watching Instagram at the very time that they're. It's just,
mate, you're out jogging. I don't want to hear this when I'm out jogging.
Amateur hour.
Amateurs over there. Running news, fellas. Let's start with Tokyo. This was yesterday. Start with the women's race, Croaks. Oh, who have I got? Moose, I got you down for this. Tell me about the women's race.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched a single thing. This week hasn't been a good week for watching. So it looks, Bridget Kosgei, I saw one, 2:16.02, number 3 all time. So is that behind? That's behind
herself. And Paula Radcliffe.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a big run. Was she solo the whole way? Did she have male paces? Did anyone watch?
Yeah, male paces. Tell you what, it's hard to watch these things, isn't it? I had Flow Track open, but Flow Track were only broadcasting to America and Canada, so I couldn't watch it on there. Wasn't on Eurosport. Well, it was on Eurosport, but Foxtel don't carry Eurosport anymore. And then the streams were really dodgy, the dodgy stuff that was coming up on Facebook. And then I still had my Flow Track tab open, and I think we were about 10k to go. I just started working. Like, I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden my computer started making noise. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then there hardly any women's footage. And every time they threw to them, they had a lot of like men, sub-elite men around them. So it looked like they had a good pack. And then, I think they were still together, like 32, 35k.
Well, there was three of them within 11 seconds at 35k.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, they went pretty hard from the gun. I actually think they were pretty even. I think they were on that 2:16 pace the whole time, and she was pretty even, and then a few people blew up. So, and the coverage, like Brett Liner was the only guy commentating. Like, imagine trying to commentate a marathon by yourself. And he did make a couple of, comments about how he's not controlling what visuals you're seeing, and it's because the men's race, it was all the Kipchoge show, the visuals of it. It even got to a stage where Kipchoge had finished, and they threw to his presentation and his interview whilst the women were at 40k. Like, no split screen, nothing. Like, it's just and it's, it wasn't good for women's coverage at all. And then Sarah Hoare was down there in 8th. Did you say that? 2:22.
Did she go out hard? She was on like 2:19 pace.
She went for the American record. Yep. And then faded. So, that was the women's race. And the men's race was all about Kipchoge. And it's just, I said this to someone today. It's like watching a replay. He does the same thing every race.
Yeah.
He's got his same NN training partner pacemakers. Like, those guys are going to be more famous than anyone else in the field soon because they're the same guys that take 25, 30k every time. And then pretty much it's like who can stay with him. One or two guys can stay with him until the paces drop out, and then he just puts in a surge at 35, 36k, gets rid of them all, and then runs it in.
And not a grimace on his face the whole race.
Makes it look easy. 2:02.40. Amos Kipruto, I think he was second at Tokyo last time the event happened as well. He did a good job. Like, he was only 33 seconds back. He ran a big PB of 2:03.13. And then Tamarata Tola, who won Amsterdam Marathon last year, he was third in 2:04.14. But the Kipchoge show continues, and he's like, I don't know, what do you guys think about it? Because he's so bloody good. He is that much better than every single other human being on the planet. No one can get close to him.
He gets it right. He gets it right every single time. The only time he didn't get it right, he blamed an ear thing, and I think he was telling the truth because he's just so good at what he does.
It's a robotic. It's like watching a robot.
And that's what he just seems to, thrive on fast marathons. Like, when the pain or the discomfort that he finds, he seems to just thrive on it. Like, it makes him happy.
Did someone's cat just get attacked or something?
Yeah, my cat's.
Jeez. Wasn't happy with the Kipchoge comments. And to me, it's almost getting a bit like, it's an amazing performance, but it's almost getting a bit boring because I'm like, this guy is leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else, and it's just like, obviously he's partnered with Abbott. It's the Abbott World Marathon Majors. He's probably going to win all of them now. Like, the one good thing it could be is when he goes to New York and Boston, they don't have paces. but I betcha he brings his paces and he just does the same thing. They go hard from the gun, get rid of everyone. I want to win it.
Well, the hills is the factor.
He trains on hills.
I know, but we don't see him race on hills.
But it's just the whole, we never see him other than 2 races a year. Like, he never drops down for a 10 or a half marathon. He's too clean cut for me now. Like, everything he says in an interview is just the perfect answer. Like, I want a scandal or something from Elliot, I think.
You'd almost like to see him rewrite a few of his shorter PBs.
Yeah, just enter another race.
Yeah.
Puts himself away for, like, months and months leading into these races, comes out, bang. Like, don't get me wrong, like, amazing performance. But
are you almost, like, watching these races? Because I didn't see much of it all. But, this guy who finished second was with him up until, 35K. So it's somewhat It's somewhat exciting while ever there's one guy with him. Are you actually going for the underdog now? I actually want to see somebody stick it to him and beat him?
Yeah, kind of. I was, to be honest. But I cannot work out how he can be that much better than everyone consistently. Like, I know he lost that one in London, but he's on a different level than everyone else, which creates a bit of well, how's he doing it? Like,
this one was pretty good though. 33 seconds is not too bad.
Yeah, he didn't absolutely destroy him.
Well, how is he doing it? Like, this is the thing, right? He is good all the time. He does not have a bad race ever. It just it's phenomenal to see how unbeatable and how dominant he is. It's remember, this is in no way am I saying anything like that. But you remember watching when you used to watch the tour, and you would be like, Lance Armstrong's going to win this race, and it's so obvious, and he does it easily, and it's like, okay, well, next one, 7 in a row, kind of thing. He's just going to win. We know he's going to win before he starts. That's kind of that's how dominant he is.
I've got a conspiracy theory that he could be artificial intelligence. Okay, hear me out here. When did he go? When did it not work for him? London, wet, got into the wiring. I reckon had a bad day.
You reckon he's like a?
He's a robot. I reckon
Terminator.
Something's going on. They just wire him to run these quick marathons.
His face looks like the Terminator. Like he's been. Someone had to teach him how to show pain.
He makes it look easy. Anyway, that's that. What else running news we got here, fellas? Anything else to talk about? Oh, yeah, Australian record. We'll go there. This just happened a couple of hours ago. So we'll go to the 1500 first, Croaks, because we had we had one boy, Australian and New Zealander, in there.
Yeah, so Hoare, it was pretty much Hoare versus George Beamish from New Zealand, and it came down to 100th of a second. So Ollie was in front, I think going into the straight, and then George went past him. So it was 3:36.54. 5:3 to 3:36.54. So, Ollie just got pipped by his training partner and good mate, Geordie Beamish.
Wasn't he? I think I read somewhere he was third with 150 metres to go, Beamish.
All right, he loves a kick.
There were some good tweets going on about him today, just like he forgets he's in a race until about 200 metres to go, and then figures out how to win them.
I'm surprised they didn't go faster though. That's I think this is the problem now. Ollie runs so well all the time that you look at 3:36 and you're like, oh, Ollie's had an off day.
Yeah, well, there was only 5 in the field, I think. There were 5 finishers, a pacer. Let me tell you, I've got the splits here. They went, Ollie went 43 for the first 300 and then 57, 58, 57. So pretty even.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that I heard on their podcast that they were looking to kick down off a steady pace, because I think there was a few people there that were trying to get the world championship standard, and they wanted to do it off, a comfortably hard tempo through 800, as opposed to stringing them out and having your typical 3:31, 3:32, 1500 metre pace.
Yeah, and the pacer got him to 700.
Yeah.
Which is probably a bit shorter than usually the paces will get them for. In the 10K, I think they just put the interview out with Jack Rayner, so we've spoken to him already. Maybe you've listened to that episode. He broke the Australian record. He ran 27.15. He broke the Australian record, which was Pat Tiernan's, by 7 seconds. Pat was in the same race. He was 14th in 27.45. Grant Fisher won the race in an American record of 26.33. And Ahmed, he broke the Canadian record in second place as well with a 26.34, I think it was. They were pretty close, those two boys coming across the line. Elise Cranny, nearly. I think she missed the American record by 1 second. She ran
three, I think.
Was it 3 seconds?
Yeah.
What'd she run? 30.14?
30.13 or 30.14, yeah.
Yep. So, some good nights performances over there at the Sound Running, the 10. I think it was called, in California. So, other quick bits of results here, fellas. Abby Caldwell, she ran a really quick 1500 PB up at Bankstown. She ran 4:04.7. That puts her 8th fastest Australian all time, just behind George Griffiths and Jenny Blundell with 4:04s and 4:04s. So she's in pretty good company there for someone pretty young, 20 years old. And Tim Vincent, he also, I think he's only 21 or 22 as well. Tim Vincent from the Gold Coast Run Co. up north. He went over to Rome to run a half marathon over there, and he finished, I think he was in 12th or 13th position, but he ran 61.43, which puts him at number 10 all time. And then there was a world record over in South Africa. Haven't got the name there, fellas. He raced juniors.
Steve, for the 50k, wasn't it? Stephen Makoko.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Stephen Makoko, who raced you at Doha Moose at the World Champs, 207 guy. Did you see him?
Yeah, he was good there though, wasn't he?
At the World Champs.
Yeah, I think. He's done real well though. He's been on the scene for a very long time.
Oh yeah, he's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he broke the 50k road world record. He ran 2:40.13, which is 3:12 pace. It's 2:13 marathon split. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's very good. But where was this? Where did he do this?
It was in South Africa as well. It was an invitation race over there.
Yeah, they love that shit over there. They love those long road races.
Yeah, and comrades and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up where he did finish at the World Champs, Moose. Can't see it here. But he's done some interesting marathons. He's done 3 in Korea, China, Japan, Poland.
Loves the cash.
Loves the cash, I reckon. Chasing some over there. So that's pretty cool.
He won Cape Town a couple of times.
Oh, was that the same year that Ali ran there?
Yeah, but he also won it again a couple of other times, I think. I reckon he's big there, big in Cape Town.
Big in Cape Town. Yeah, he finished 7th. Yeah. He's ran 59.36 for the half. 7th at the World Half Champs in 2020. Oh. Biwa, he comes 2nd at Lake Biwa, 2020.
Did he?
2:08. Yeah, wow. This guy's legit. He is.
Yeah. This is what happens when good runners do ultra marathons, right?
Yeah, okay.
This is what happens. They've never done it before. And so, there was a glory period for ultra marathon. It's like when it was getting big, but no one paid it much attention, none of the good runners. And all of a sudden, guys like the 2:08 guys, the 2:07 guys do it and run world records. Of course, everyone said that was going to happen, but the ultra guys are like, no, it's different physiology, and they can't do it. And yes, they can do it.
So, Moose, you raced this guy twice in 2019 because he finished 3rd at Lake Biwa that year in 2:07.58, and then he finished 5th at the World Championships in 2:11.09.
5th.
Yeah, remember this bloke was the guy that got up on stage, Brady, and made us all sing and shit.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, that was that guy. I'm sure it was him. I reckon he got up and
happy birthday. That's like it's a whole lot of different nationalities.
He was singing it all different. Yeah. And he made us. He was like, he was trying to get all the nations like doing the same dance and stuff.
Oh, that was him. Small world.
Yeah, I reckon that was him. And yeah,
a few Moroccans in there, a few Japanese, a few Australians, a few Americans. Yeah, that was a good night, that one. All right, this is a new segment coming at you this week. This is a similar segment that we ran leading up to the Nike Melbourne Marathon a couple of weeks ago, but this one's all about the Great Ocean Road Marathon, the Kaiser 2022 Great Ocean Road Running Festival that's happening the 14th and 15th of May. Down obviously at the Great Ocean Road, and we're pretty lucky with this segment because we've got the king of the Great Ocean Road Marathon. I think he's a 4-time winner, Julian Spence. That's you, isn't it? 4-time or 5-time or 3-time?
Thanks for having me on, Brady.
It's an absolute honour to have you on this podcast, Julian Spence. Welcome.
Yeah, no, this is my home race. Grew up in Anglesey. I remember the first one they ever did. It actually got televised on TV back in the day. They brought out Kenyans. It was run by...
What year would have that been?
It would have been like 2005-ish, 2003 maybe, around that early time. It was a bloke called John Craven put it on, and he used to do the Otway Classic. So you remember all the old fellas talk about the Otway Classic. It used to be a 4 or 5 day race, and everyone used to run there, and then they brought Africans in as well. It was a real spectacle. And so John Craven, he put that on down. He put the Great Ocean Road Marathon on, and they had cameras. It was on TV. And there was, I think at the very beginning, there was like $1 million bonus if you broke the world record. Yeah. And he was a showman. But the race, it turned into like an international type race where a lot of the field is from overseas, because they see these pictures of how beautiful the Great Ocean Road is. I talk about it all the time, but that's the best section of the road, is from Lawn to Apollo Bay. You're basically running on the side of a cliff the whole time. You have the ocean on your left, you have cliffs and forest on your right, and yeah, it's epic. It is an epic an epic venue for a running race.
And it's closed roads the whole way, isn't it? Like you literally run on the Great Ocean Road, not like the little bike path or the little sandy path next to it.
No, it's closed. It's closed the whole way. It creates some drama for people getting to Apollo Bay. That's because there's only one way in or out of all the small towns along the way.
And that is the Great Ocean Road.
It's the Great Ocean. It's the photos one. It's where they film all the car ads. They put the cars up on the side because it's so good. It send them all through like the world because it is an iconic location.
Australia's most stunning running event. That's their claim, and you live down there. You can back that up.
Yeah, I'll back that up. And also probably like the most prestigious running race in Australia as well. Probably the hardest marathon to win.
To win it. How many times have you won it? Get that out.
4 times.
Is it 4 times? Is it back to back to back to back?
Yeah, it is. I came second once. I came second one. Oh, I don't. Yeah,
I reckon. Come second one year to Pete Kerr. Remember, he nearly got you.
No, he didn't nearly get me. Actually, I was fully in control.
Wasn't it like 8 seconds or something over the marathon?
I reckon if you go back to the episode where you recap it, you would have mentioned that you thought you were in trouble at one point.
Nah, fully in control. No problems there.
Have you ever run at Croaks?
No, I haven't. But, in terms of iconic events, like international people that come to Australia, like the Great Ocean Road is on their bucket list. So to be able to run on that road, it's sort of like being able to run over the Sydney Harbour Bridge in a way, in terms of iconic places in Australia to run. And it's also one thing I've noticed, it's quite an inclusive event. There's 9 different events on over the weekend, all the way from like a 1,500 metre kids gallop on the Saturday to the 60k ultra and trail races as well. So do you want to talk a bit about the different races, Moose, on the Saturday? So there's like a kids gallop, a 6k and a 14k.
Yeah, so the setup used to be the Saturday was the shorter runs down in Apollo Bay, and you'd get a lot of the AV runners come down and do them. It's still the same. 6K used to go up to Mariner's Lookout, which was like one of the most brutal 6K runs you can ever do. It was like straight up and straight down. But now they go down to Marengo. So there's like a nice little dirt path, run down to Marengo and back. And then 14K Paradise Run goes out the back of Apollo Bay to a place called Paradise through sort of some rainforest area. Both are pretty... I like both these runs. I've done training runs on the Paradise Run, and it's a beautiful place to run. And the Kids Gallop gets a lot of people because the parents run on the Sunday or even later in the afternoon on the Saturday, but they normally make a weekend of it and they stay down there so the kids can do stuff as well. And on the Sunday, it's traditionally it was the half and the full marathon, which are a little longer because it's town to town. It's pub to pub, basically. The marathon starts at the Lawn Pub, finishes at the Apollo Bay Middle Pub, and it's 44-ish K. It's longer than a marathon. You actually get a marathon split and a half marathon timing mat where you get your recorded marathon result. But the the actual race continues on after that for like another kind of mile plus, which is pretty hard work mentally to go past the marathon line and keep running, especially if there's a race going on. But the half marathon starts at Kennett River, and it's 23k for the full event. Now, the new events that they've put in, the first one they put in was 60k ultra marathon, which is the marathon course, but in 2 different locations, you turn right and you run uphill, and you do an out and back in a couple of locations to add on the extra 16k, and they're pretty hard little uphills, so it's no like flat 60k. And the trail runs, to be honest, I actually have never really seen these because they start after the marathon starts, and they start in Lawn and they go up into the Erskine area in Lawn, so pretty nice. I don't know much about the walk, I'll be honest. I haven't seen that one, but I think they go into the bush as well.
I did the half marathon one year, a bit hilly early, and then it kind of rolls downhill, doesn't it? Have I got that correct?
Yeah, the main hills. So the main hills in the half are after Kennett River. You go up a hill, you drop down, and then you go up from Grey River, where if you've ever been on the Great Ocean Road, there's like a koala area. So you run through this sort of koala area where there's heaps of koalas in the trees, and you run uphill for probably, well, I'm going to say it's like a 600-metre hill, and then you get to Cape Patton, and Cape Patton is the highest point on the course. It's also where it's almost like, it's like a headland kind of thing where you can see Apollo Bay for the first time. So the marathoners get their first look at the actual finish line from there, and you get different winds at that point because you start running in a slightly different direction, and you don't get the protection from the cliffs as much. But yeah, it gets flatter after that point.
Yeah, because it can be windy, but the wind kind of like rolls around a bit in those. Like I remember the year I did it, it felt like we're running a headwind, and then all of a sudden you take one of those tight corners, and then even though it feels like you're going in the same direction, point to point, all of a sudden you're not getting slammed by a headwind anymore.
All I remember are headwinds.
Oh, yeah.
No, it normally went good year, bad year, but I remember I was really fit one year, and I got just like the most hideous headwind at the 30k mark, and I remember thinking, I'm on for 220 today. I was on 220 pace, and I felt really good at 30k, and then I turned the corner at the top of that cape, and I just felt this westerly hit me, and I'm like, oh, it's not happening today. It's not happening at all today, and so that was a shame.
But we're going to hear a lot of stories in the next couple of weeks, Croaks.
I think
A lot of stories.
Mate, I can tell you just ask me what year, I'll tell you word for like minute by minute. They're still yet to have a it'll be a northeasterly, which will be like the full tailwind down. It's a rare wind for May. It's more of a summer wind, so we don't see the full tailwind that often.
Okay, so if you register before April 5th, complimentary bib postage. Anyone registering after that date will need to collect their race bib at the pre-event, and there's a whole lot of activities that go on around the whole weekend, Moose. Obviously, it's a bit of a festival, a bit of live music, yoga, a kite festival. Explain what that is down there on the beach. What do you do? Just fly kites and stuff? Inflatable sports park for the kids? Sounds good.
It's inflatable sports park. I'm guessing that's like jumping castles and stuff. The kite festival, that's not really my scene, but I'm sure it'll get some crowds. I like the sound of the glamping, to be honest, because Kennett River, that's the start point.
That's where you start for the half marathon, isn't it?
For the half marathon, yeah. So it's a difficult place to get to because it's on a Great Ocean Road and one way in, one way out. You can't really get back there until the buses start coming back after the race. And so ideally, if you score one of these glamping tents, then you can wake up at the start line and you head into Apollo. You do the race, chuck your bag on the truck, takes it in with your wallet, your phone, whatever. You finish the race, change your clothes, get changed, go to the pub, hang out at the end, the expo, the village, and then you just catch the buses back to Kennett River and you're all good.
Jump back in the tent. That sounds all right, doesn't it? Sounds like a good weekend. 14th and 15th of May 2022. Put it in your diary, listeners. Great Ocean
9
Road.
weeks. 9 weeks, Brady, from this weekend. Plenty of time to get fit.
I come second there, Croaks. I haven't got a win down there yet. I might get down there. Ben Ashkettle beat me. Steve Deneen third. Well, that's when Ben Ashkettle was flying. He used to be pretty good. He went first hill. Like, I'm pretty good on hills, fellas, but I let him go and then never... I don't think he put the 3 minutes into us.
Well, Brady
he ran real quick. I think he split 65 for the half that day.
Maybe this is your year. Get down to Great Ocean Road runfest.com.au and register.
The prize money is always good down there as well. When I come, who's always down there in the 14K on the Saturday, just smacking up kids, smacking up anyone who's racing him? Steve Monteghetti.
Yeah, he does run that one a lot.
He's always there at the 14K, smacking anyone who's on that start line. He'll be listening to this. He'll be down there. He'll be putting it in his diary. I'm going to skip listening to question, fellas, because it's a big episode as it is. Got a Moose on the Loose purchase of the week for me?
I bought some new treadmills for the store. Oh,
wasn't there any? Didn't they have them in the store already, or you just want to upgrade straight up? Oh yeah.
Oh, mate.
Nothing but the best for Moose.
Yeah. Moose is taking over.
You should run on these things. They are just the smoothest. Like Croaks, we talked about treadies for a while. Yeah. Oh, I got the good ones, mate. I got the good ones now. Got some Techno Gyms. Techno Gym. And got the new iPads. Like, we do a lot of gait assessment in the store, so I got these new iPad Pros. They're I can get 240 frames a second in 1080 HD. Oh, boy. Like, I can slow stuff down. It's like Hollywood in my store right now. So if you want to come in and experience absolute premium fitting, like the best shoe store you've ever been in, outside Ballarat might be equal. Come in because we'll take care of you. Had some people come in, like heard that I was going to be on the floor. Had a few listeners roll in over the weekend.
Did they?
Got the 5-star treatment.
Should be a secret word you mention if you hear this on the show. You get like 10% off or something.
You can't discount service. Can't discount this type of service.
Say Brad Croker 2020 or something and get 10% off.
Hey, Moose, on the topic of treadmills, we've had ours now for about 6 months. Are you happy with the purchase? Because I know, I love having a treadmill. It's so good.
I am. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially when I wake up at 5:30 and it's pitch black outside and it's raining. I couldn't. I'm like, I'm not running out there. That looks terrible. I'm going to put Netflix on, watch a brilliant movie.
And in winter,
too.
Like we've had it in summer, and it's going to be a game changer come winter. And I find even on a Saturday afternoon, it's like, I could drive out to Mulligan's, or I could just walk 15, 20 metres down the hall and jump on the treadmill and watch.
This is so soft. Imagine what Rab's thinking listening to this.
Watch a bit of footy or whatever on the iPad. So good.
Just put the old wireless on. Just listen to the footy on your radio while you're running.
Did you know, Brad?
You guys have turned soft though.
I watched Point Break 2 on the treadmill the other day.
Oh, did you?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I have no idea what we would like, how they got that so bad. But
that happens a lot though. That happens a lot when they bring out as a sequel.
It wasn't even close. It was just dreadful. I was disappointed, but I thought of you during it.
We're going to skip training talk as well, fellas. But Deeks Quarters, we're going to talk about that next week.
All right.
With that, give you a week preparation. Thought that'd be a good thing to talk about.
Who's talking about it? Is that you got that one?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a panel discussion about it, but
No, one person's got to own it.
I'll read it, but I want to know your thoughts on it. I don't think you guys would have done too many Deeks Quarters over your times, though.
Yeah, I've done it a few times.
Have you? Yeah, not many times in the last 5 years since we've been doing this, though.
No, haven't done it. Maybe did it once, I reckon.
In the last 5 years, yeah.
I used
to do it every Thursday. I did every Thursday for 5 years.
And a 3/4 one.
That really in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
5 years, you did it every day, every Thursday.
I'd wake up every Thursday morning just hating life that it was Thursday because I knew how much pain I'd be in when I had to do that workout.
So you basically flogged yourself every time you did it.
I actually found my old training diary from 2013 the other day, took a photo of it, sent it through to Archie, and I was pretty much racing three times a week.
So you're the type of guy that there was absolutely no difference between the 400 on and the 200 float.
No, there was. I'd always try
it was just a 4.8k time trial.
Yeah, I know. I'd always try to hit 68s for the 4s on and then 40s for the float, but then I'd punch the last 200. And then my whole day would be impacted about what I hit for Deeks quarters. Yeah. Like if I'd be happy. But I sent him a photo of this the other day. I did mono fartlek on a bush trail on a Tuesday. I averaged 3:03 pace, like 6.5k. The Wednesday I ran 20k at 5 a.m. at 4:10 pace and 8k in the afternoon at like 4:13 pace. And then the Thursday I did 10 400s in 63. And I'm like, hey, I was just racing those workouts. And I ran 14:30 for 5k. Like I didn't even run anywhere near my best.
Yeah.
So that's why I sent it through to him. I'm like, this is what we don't want to do. This is what we're talking about when we said A workouts last week. Anyway, we'll talk about that in more detail next week. What's coming up, fellas? Box Hill Burn. That's coming up tomorrow night. Have you seen the fields for this?
Yeah, that'll be a good watch.
What about the state champion, Tom Thorpe, 13:58 guy, is in the B race. It's that deep. Oh. Have you seen the fields for it?
I briefly looked at them, but I haven't.
Incredible. Really. So, that's going to be tomorrow night. I'm sure Athletics Exclusive are doing the stream there.
National 3K on Saturday.
Yeah, where's that? Sydney?
Sydney. Yeah, part of the Sydney Track Classic.
Who else is on the start list there?
Jai Edwards, Ooh. Rory Hunter. A few of the guys from the US have come back. No, Stewie's in that 5K, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the 5K tomorrow night. Brett Robinson's pacing it.
Cameron Griffith has come back, Tin Man.
Mm-hmm.
There's others, but
Kai Robinson.
Yeah. I think so.
Oh,
actually, no. Sorry, Kai Robinson's not. No.
Okay.
Jude Thomas is.
Oh yeah, he's in the 5K as well though.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a big week doing a 5K on a Tuesday and a 3K on a Saturday. Yeah. So that's coming up as well. That's good. YouTube channel, boys and girls. We got the Rab interview up there, and we've also going to put Josh Kerr up there as well. So if you're into your visuals, you can see what these interviews look like. Visually up there, and that leads in well to this week's interview is with Josh Kerr, the bronze medalist from the Olympics, Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Yeah, a bit of a surprise there, wasn't it, fellas, that bronze? I thought it was at the time, but after listening to this interview, I'm like, it was destined to happen.
Yeah, I think it was just like that was a sign of how good that 1500 metres was, because it was just so it was so open, and there was just about all the major countries were represented.
Mm. Yeah. And I found I didn't know. I knew he was dominant at the NCAA stuff. And this is what I said to Luke, because Luke Matthews, he's doing some work for the Inside Running podcast now, so he'll be featuring some interviews coming forward. And I thought he did a really good job at this one first up. But I said to Luke, I went from not knowing a lot about this guy, obviously knowing his name, to being one of his biggest fans after hearing his attitude for the sport and the kind of his stories about how he trains and all those kind of things after listening to this interview. So it's really good. You'll hear part 1 of it this week and then part 2 of it next week. He recently broke the UK indoor mile and 1500 metre record in the same race just last week as well. So he's fresh off that from Scotland. I think I've said enough about him. So, enjoy that. And that's it, fellas. What's coming up, Moose? Selling shoes?
Yes, selling shoes.
Croaks, what's coming up for you?
We've got a long weekend coming up, and the Raiders kick off the season on Friday night.
Oh, who we got?
Sharks.
Will we win?
Don't know. We lost our halfback for 4 months.
For what, injured?
Yeah, in a trial match. So not a great start.
Could be a long season for the Raiders. All right, fellas, we'll do it all again next week. Thanks for your time, listeners. Enjoy these interviews.
See you, boys.
See you, mate.
See you later.
Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand, Pillar Performance, is leading the way when it comes to high-strength formulations to support running performance. Pillar's range is purposefully formulated to support optimal recovery, elevate energy production, relieve joint inflammation, and boost immunity. Pillar has become the choice of Australian sport thanks to their formulation quality and batch testing program. Currently working with Ben St Lawrence, Izzy Bat Doyle, and Riley Cox, along with more than 30 professional sporting teams across the country. Pillar's range is led by Motion Armour, a revolutionary joint inflammation and longevity formula perfect for those with a high training load on the track, trails, or road. When it comes to recovery, their best-selling triple magnesium powder is leading the way, featuring 3 forms of bioavailable magnesium to optimize recovery, improve sleep, and have you backing up after every session. The Pillar team has an exclusive offer for Inside Running listeners. Head to their website and use the code INSIDERUN to receive a free sports bottle and travel tin. valued at $15.99 with any purchase. To redeem this offer, or for more information on Pillar Performance and their range of sports micronutrition, head to pillarperformance.com.au.
Just show love to everyone you meet. Doesn't matter if it don't come back. Undercover of my skin, I'll burn all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
This week's guest on the Inside Running podcast is Josh Kerr. Josh is a Scottish 1500 metre runner who won a bronze medal in the 1500 metres at the Tokyo Olympics behind Jacob Ingebrigtsen and Timothy Cheruiyot. Josh holds impressive PBs of 145, 329 and 13:23 outdoors. Just recently, Josh broke the 1500 metres and mile British indoor record in the same race, running 332.8 en route to running a 348 mile. Before Josh turned pro, he was a successful junior, winning the 1500 metres at the 2015 Under-20 Euro Championships, a year before making the 1500 metre final at the 2016 World Junior Championships. Josh attended the University of New Mexico, where he won 3 national championships and broke the NCAA 1500 metre record, which stood until last year. In 2018, Josh decided to forego his remaining eligibility and sign a contract with the Brooks Beast under the guidance of Danny Mackey. Away from athletics, Josh co-hosts a successful podcast with Brooks Beast teammate David Rippich named Sit and Kick. Josh, thanks for coming on and welcome to the Inside Running podcast.
Think you very much. I think I'm very proud that you introduced me as Scottish and not British. That's what I like to hear.
I think that is it's a thing as well. I feel like the Scottish athletes are really proud that they're Scottish as well. But if you're anywhere else, it's British.
Yeah, I know. It should be British, but I think it's quite funny when we're Scottish. I think that's funny.
Yeah, and it's funny as well. When I spoke to Jake Whiteman at the tail end of 2018, I was like, "What are you more proud of in 2018, the Euro or the Commonwealth Games medal?" And he's like, "Oh, probably Commonwealth Games because I ran for Scotland."
Hey, it makes sense. Like I think obviously Commons are every 4 years, but being able to compete even against all the other Brits at a major, I think it's pretty cool. We got the Aussies in there as well, haven't we? So yeah, that's a good medal to have.
Yeah, Commonwealth Games medals are really hard to get. So
here he goes, mate. I don't have one.
Yeah. So where are you based at the moment? I think you said you're in New Mexico.
So I'm in New Mexico at the moment. My missus lives out here. My fiance lives out here. So we have 2 weeks of downtime off training because after indoors before we start ramping it up for outdoors. So I'm in Albuquerque, spending a little bit of time with her, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I'm sure we'll try to get up into the split up of New Mexico to Seattle soon. But obviously the most recent result to date is your most recent race at Boston. So you just want to maybe talk to us a little bit about that because one, not only was it impressive, but the thing that I liked the most about it was you were so public in saying, I'm going to break the 15 and the mile in the same race. And it's like, fuck, it's a pretty big call, but you went out and did it. So give us a little rundown on that.
Yeah, man, it was an accumulation of a lot of hard work between kind of Ray, my agent, and Danny kind of sorting that race out. And so I got in trouble a little bit week off the race for continuing to talk about it publicly because I think they were having a hard time keeping the field size kind of smaller because there's not a lot of time where you're going to get pretty much guaranteed a pacer through a full mile race. So a lot of college kids wanted to be involved. Obviously, a lot of pros want to be involved because it's a fast race, but yeah, there was a lot of effort on kind of their side of things to put it together, and then it was just up to me to turn up and do the job. But it was a very enjoyable race, and I knew I'd get the mile record. I think the 15 was going to be difficult, and I was able to snatch that one. So yeah, it was tough, and because I don't want to run world indoors, I have really no interest in doing that. Then it was a bit of a fun opportunity to try and run as quickly as possible. And there's a bit of history to get in there. And, obviously we got the new Brooks bikes as well. So we got to show them off and running as fast as we can. So yeah, it was a lot of fun in Boston last week.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And did you feel like you had a bit of something to get back after Ollie beat you at Milrose? Like, did you feel like you had to get one back and go quicker or anything like that?
Yeah, man. I'm a bitter man, you see, Luke. Like, that's the way it goes. You know, when someone beats me, regardless who it is, I take it rather personally. And so, you know, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put 4 weeks of hard training in here, and we're going to do something special to make people forget about that Milrose performance.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're such an interesting character as well. Is that not only are you a great athlete, 329, bronze medalist at the Olympics, awesome college runner. I feel like you, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. It's like I feel like you do always run with a bit of a motive and like almost like a bit of a chip on the shoulder. And I think that some people could think that's a negative thing, but I think that's an incredibly positive thing. So, is that something that's just come out recently, or is that something that you've always had throughout as a junior?
I think I've had a little bit more of the spotlight recently, so people have kind of noticed me a little bit more. But to be honest, I feel like I've had it my whole life, where it's like, you know, this sport, you're not handed anything. You're not able to hide like you are in other team sports, you know, on a rugby field, on a football field, something like that, where, you know, your performance is solely up to you. And so I feel like when I'm out racing, I'm always proving how good I am, because, you know, you can be, the man. Like Donovan Brazier was the man in 2019, and then he doesn't make the Olympic team in 2021. And so people kind of forget how good he is just because of one bad performance. So I feel like you continually have to prove how good you are to keep the audience. And so I always, whenever I race, I never take it for granted. I know that people are watching and people expect, you know, a hard, fast race and a bit of a show. So yeah, I feel like I bring that, but it's also, it's difficult. It's probably why I race less than most.
Yeah, I think, and you said a good point as well there that you don't want to be, you always want to be proving and always want to be getting it better, and that's your way of dealing with that. And I think it also goes to show like the type of athlete, like, you know, say Ahmed or Century, it's people who have been at that level for so long. There's a reason why they do that, and maybe they have that as well. And just quickly before we get into the rest of the conversation, what was the main reasoning for not wanting to go to World Indoors?
So I think for me, you know, I haven't won Worlds, I haven't medaled at Worlds outdoors, and I really feel like those are the kind of moments that I'm looking for. I really couldn't care less about a World Indoor medal. Everyone's different and everyone has their own career paths. And that's completely fine. Like, I'm not judging anyone that has a World Indoor medal or that wants to go to Indoor Worlds, but the way that my body works and the way that my motivation works is, you know, outdoor medals are superior. So why go for indoor ones? So yeah, I'm not someone that can peak like 4 or 5 times a year and run these crazy times consistently week in, week out. I'm someone that needs to take some time and build up to a race and really have some motivation and focus on it. So for me, it was just like, you know, it's bad timing, March, you know, middle of March. So kind of, I'm taking a bit more of a downtime before we ramp up for an outdoor 5K. And so if I ran in March and then took some downtime, and then I'm just a little bit behind. My body fluctuates quite a lot in the way it trains. You know, my downtime's pretty down and my on time's pretty on. So yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to watching. I love that kind of competition, but it just wasn't really for me this year. And I really value outdoor worlds, and that's my big focus of the year. Yeah.
And although you said you're looking forward to watching, would you say that you're a fan of Ollie Hoare, or is he a rival that you hate?
That's the thing, is like, you know, there's some beef getting started on the internet, and I do like to be involved in that. The thing is, from gun to tape, we are, you know, arch enemies. You know what I mean? We're gonna go at it, and there's lots on the line for us, because, you know, I feel like we're reasonably similar athletes in the way that we attack races. And, you know, I would like to be the one on top and he wants to be the one on top. But, you know, outside of, race day, I do think that we get along. Well, we do get along quite well, but that's what fuels that fire a little bit more of, like, you know, I think he wants to be on top. I want to be on top. And, I do enjoy that competition. I also, like, there's a lot of really nice people in this sport, and so it's difficult to have enemies. So you really try and find them. But yeah, he's not one off the track, but on the track, we'll produce some pretty awesome races outdoors.
Yeah, no, I figured that. I could, even though it's not like I've asked you both necessarily, but even though you kind of see that bit of tension, a bit of rivalry, I was fully aware that you guys would be friends off the track. But as well as that, you guys have competed each other and had some pretty epic NCAA performances together. So it's good viewing. And you guys are only 24, so chances are you're probably going to be doing this for another 2 Olympic cycles or something like that.
That's the goal. That's the big goal.
Yeah, hopefully I can get myself into one of them, but we'll see. So, yeah, just before I get into Josh Kerr, the pro athlete, I wouldn't mind just getting to know a little bit about Josh Kerr, kind of the junior. So you were based in Glasgow, was it? And you had a junior coach. So can you just tell me a little bit about your time leading up until, let's say, 2015?
Yeah, so I got in the sport. So I grew up in Edinburgh. My coach, who coached me through probably the year of 2015 and to Euro Juniors, was from Glasgow. So he kind of coached me from afar. Yeah. And so, yeah, I grew up and trained in Edinburgh, and that's kind of, I went through 2 coaches in Edinburgh, and then I got the coach in Glasgow that coached me through until I got to be a Lobo out here in University of New Mexico. So yeah, it was just learning. Like, my parents weren't professional runners. My dad was a professional rugby player, but so he knew what it took to be a professional sports person. But we were all kind of learning together of what does an athlete need, and what do you do on a daily basis to be kind of that best athlete and take that next step in your career. So growing up, it was always research, speaking to people who've done it before, and we were lucky enough at Edinburgh AC to be surrounded by a lot of really successful athletes. So the questions were always being able to get answered at that club, and you could always see where that next step was, even on a Tuesday, Thursday when we're down at the track. So yeah, we're very lucky in that way.
Yeah. And I think the coolest thing about Edinburgh was you obviously ran and still do run for Edinburgh Athletic Club. You were able to go to the 2017 World Championships, and all 3 were Scottish athletes from the same athletics club. I know that you did a fair bit of running with Chris O'Hare in the juniors, and you were in the same running group. Did you cross over much with Jake Whiteman?
So we never trained together. We were in different training groups, but he was, I don't know, I think he's 3 years older than me. And so I would watch his progress. We actually did myself, my brother, and him, we did a relay, a cross country relay when we were younger. And it was I think it was under 13 does a loop and then passed it to the under 15 was my brother, and then the under 17, which was Whiteman. So that was a lot of fun. So we have some fun photos from that, and that was way back when. But we never trained together. But it was always, we know who he was, and if questions needed to be asked, he was obviously the 2013 Euro Junior champ, and so the coach that I had, who was based in Glasgow, was, reached out to, Jeff Whiteman, Jake's dad, and asked them a million questions. And we were able to get on a phone call with him, and we were just picking the brains, and massively helpful, growing up at Edinburgh AC and having someone like that who's been there, done that, to kind of help us guide the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Great foundations. And it does seem like British athletics seem to have very good, under 20 1,500 meter runners. I think from 2013 to 2019 has pretty much all been British athletes who have won under 20 championships. So it's good to have people around you that are setting up the future. Obviously, the tail end of your junior career, you won the European Championships in 2015, and then I'm assuming you started college not long after that. Just run me through the process of starting at New Mexico, why you started at New Mexico, and did that success at all help with getting started to college? Did it make your time easier or anything like that?
So I got recruited there when I was 16. So I was emailing all sorts of universities because I left school at 17, and Scotland were a year less than England. and the US. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but yeah, I left at 17. So when I was looking at universities, I was like, 16. I'd ran 3:52 for the 1500, and I was emailing all these universities, and they were like, "Oh, that's great for a 16-year-old, but you're going to be racing 20-year-olds who have ran mid 340s, low 340s. So take another year and let us know how you get on, kind of thing." And the University of New Mexico emailed me back saying, "You know what, like, we'll take you on, kind of thing, and we'll give you a full ride, and let's have a little Skype call or something like that." And we did the Skype call. They were like, "Yeah, we want you, get here start of August." I was like, perfect. And then that summer I went on to run 344 and win Euro Juniors. And so they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's a pretty solid shout," because I'd already signed with them at that point. And then I'm seeing on my lap of honor, I'm seeing all these Euro Juniors, all these American coaches who didn't recruit me. And like, I was just kind of laughing, and it was like Oklahoma State, like all these like Oregon, all these universities that like turned me down. And I was just like kind of giggling. And yeah, so that was great. So that's why I went to University of Mexico. It was my only option, my only offer, and ended up being obviously a fantastic opportunity for me. I come out, and it takes a while to settle into universities anywhere, but obviously across the pond, it's a little bit more difficult. You're moving from your parents and things like that. So, it took me about a semester to settle in and really know what it was like to train and kind of be the one pushing everything, like going to class, going to training, making sure everything's right with the diet and things. So yeah, it took me about a semester. And then, my second semester, my freshman year, I was able to work it out a little bit better, and I was settled in pretty well from there.
Yeah. So you got through that kind of the tail end of 2015. I think you skipped indoors in 2016, but you had a bit more international kind of taste in 2016. So from memory, you made the NCAA finals in 2016, and then you went to World Juniors. What was that first real World Championship taste like for you, and what did you get out of that kind of leading into 2017?
It's just such a big step up. Like, as a junior, I've always asked athletes, like, how do you step up from junior to senior? And even that question makes sense from like, how do you step up from Euro Juniors to World Juniors? Because you're now against, obviously the whole world, but you're against, these Kenyans and Ethiopians and, East Africans that all run insane times versus, like, I think I'd ran 330 or 341 or something. I think the qualifying time was 43 or 42. And, I think the guy that won it had ran like 332 or 333. And I was just like, I'm so at my depth here. And so it is difficult to kind of ease yourself into it. And when you've ran good times for, a European, but when it comes to the world stage, it was really difficult. But again, I jumped in with 2 feet, made the final. I think I was 10th. Wasn't my best performance, but I think I psyched myself out beforehand, just being like, these guys are so amazing. And I didn't run it the way I should have done. But it's a difficult situation to be in, but it's something that you just got to rip that Band-Aid off, and you just got to realize that everyone has to do it. And then, you've not got any age group or any other kind of category that's going to stop you racing everyone in the world. So you got to get running fast and be really aggressive. And that's kind of where that came from. I feel like I was naive, but I was also a little bit worried going into races. And so I was like, what, worst comes to worst, let's just go hard and see what happens. I think that's kind of where that breakthrough happened, where I realized that I didn't care who anyone was. I was going to race my own game plan, and I was going to stick to it no matter what. And then I found some success from there.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that is that obviously you're an incredibly talented junior, with how 2015 and 2016 went. But I think, from the outset, even myself, I feel like you kind of got on everyone's radar in the indoor season of 2017, and you in indoors in 2017, you'd beaten kind of the unbeatable Ed Cheserek at the indoor championships. Although you'd taken out that success, although you kind of had that mindset that you were going to run the way that you wanted to, you weren't going to let anyone get in your way. Was there anything that necessarily changed in training in that cross country or base phase at the tail of 2016 to set up the start of 2017?
Yeah, I think so. So I took cross off at the end of 2016 because I came back from World Outdoors Juniors in in 2016, and I was just like, I was pooped, man. I needed a little bit of a break. And then I actually, we recruited one of my really good friends from Scotland that year. And he had to, sit out a year. It was like some sort of red shirt because he had already used up some eligibility. So he came over and, we were living together and we were training every day. And he's like hard as nails, like so difficult to break. And so we were just, working out every day together. We were pushing each other to the limit, and I didn't have to race. And so we were having, we were enjoying our time at university at the same time. So we was like, work hard, play hard a little bit for that semester through the end of 2016. And so, I gained this amazing base that I was able to work off for the start of 2017 when I kind of had that breakthrough year. And so I was just like, yeah, this is how I did it. So looking back, that was a big reason why I was so strong that year. It was I took cross off, and also one of my best mates came and pushed me to the absolute limits every day.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily specifically, implementing certain training or anything like that. It was just more the fact that you just had a mindset that you were going to train hard, and you also had someone just kicking you up the ass every session.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it goes. Like, everyone knows training solo is really difficult, but also having someone who, he was really good at my weaknesses, which was like longer tempos and longer track sessions. And that's pretty much what you're doing through, September, October, November, December. So he was better at that stuff, and I hated losing to him. So we would really go back and forth. And so, yeah, that was a really fun time, actually. I did enjoy that.
Yeah. So 2017, I feel like that was your breakthrough year, both indoors and outdoors. Going into that 2017 mile, going up against, the most successful collegiate athlete ever in Ed Cheserek, and looked like he was going to be unbeatable. I think he had a 3:52 indoor mile PB, potentially the NCAA record at the time. What was the mindset going into that race, and what was the tactics?
So, yeah, I remember that race so well because, every part of that trip I just remember really well. So the tactics was to go with 600 to go. Well, we ran the prelim and it felt good. And then I had to make the decision to run the DMR or not. I chose not to because I thought I had a good chance, even though it made no sense. I was like, I felt really good. I've got a good chance. And then, we decided to go with 600 to go in the race and push really hard from a far way out because we knew that Ches had already ran like a couple races. So I was like, the only way to beat him is to break him early and make him work super hard. And so we weren't running all that fast, and I was going to go with 600 to go. I think he takes it on with 600 to go. And so I was just like kind of poised, ready to really push. He slowed down at like 450 meters to go. And I was like, again, I'm not going to let you settle again. It's, I'm going to push you to the limit here kind of thing. And so I pushed as hard as I could. And I just didn't look back. I was like, if I'm ever going to break someone, it's right now. So I just threw everything at it. I was fresh, and I was just really confident. I was naive. Obviously coming off that World Juniors, I was a bit pissed off. I was like, I felt like I ran like a bit of a pussy. And so I was like, I'm going to do the complete opposite. I'm just going to run like an absolute nutter, and let's just see what happens. And obviously it comes off pretty well for me.
Yeah, I still remember watching that race, and like I said, it was probably I'd watched you at the World Juniors in under 20, but watching that indoor race, I'm just like, yeah, this guy's legit. Which kind of led on. One of your first races in the outdoor season, you'd opened up with a 3:35.99, and then it set up your outdoor season. So, what was it? Just a similar mindset going into the NCAA outdoors? Did you just go in just thinking, you know what, I'm just gonna try beat everyone here, or was it were you trying to race a specific person? Because I feel like 2016 and 2017, that was kind of the arrival of Craig Engels, and I felt like leading into that 2017 season, it was just going to be, this is going to be Craig Engels to take out. He's going to become pro, and then he's going to be the next best miler. But seemed like Josh Kerr just wanted to do everything and ruin the Engels show.
I'm just trying to ruin as many professional careers as possible. Look, that's the way it goes. No, to be honest, I won indoors, and the only reason I came to the US was to get a professional contract. That's like the only reason I'm here. I was like, I want to run for my career, and so whatever I can do to make that happen, let's do it. And I got that stage. I stole it off Ches for that, 4 minutes. And, I had an opportunity to build off that. So I was like, there's my stage. Let's show everyone who you are for the next, couple of years, however long it takes for someone to offer me something. And so the mindset was, I can't lose in college now. Like I have to be number one. And so whoever the next person is that's going to come and challenge, like they can't beat me, because this is what I've wanted to do for my whole life. And so, yeah, the pressure was on. I put it on myself, but I also didn't really know anyone. I'm not a big researcher into like people's stats. And so when we ran that race at Azusa to run 35.9, I didn't know who Craig Engels was. I legitimately, he was a big name in college, but I didn't research anyone. I thought that, Ches was the man, and then he pulled out. And so of that Azusa race. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, I guess I'm just racing everyone else I've already raced. And because he ended up running the DMR indoors. So I didn't know, like, cause he said he broke his collarbone or something over Christmas. So that's what ended up happening. And, we were just trying to go out and try and run the world standard. So, we were able to do that by the absolute skin of my teeth. But that was just a big naive thing. I had no idea who he was. And so I wasn't really worried about him, because, that's just the way it works.
Yeah, and that year as well, you'd obviously you beat Engels, and you'd won the outdoor 1500 title and also the indoor title. You used that momentum, went back to the British champs, qualified for the team, and then you ran at the World Championships. I'd say you probably have this mindset as well. 2017 World Champs was probably not as successful as you would have liked. You got knocked out in the heats. Similar to 2016, what was the main takeaway from that 2017 World Championships?
It was a big experience gain, and I hate to say that because it wasn't why I was there. I wasn't there to like learn as much as possible. I was there to, make a final and try and compete for, in front of a British crowd. And so it was a really low moment in my career, seeing the result. But again, it's the same thing with World Juniors. Like, I got there and I got beaten. And so I got to London and I got beaten. And so it was just like, okay, what did I learn from this? What can I do better? Like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I'm never getting knocked out like that again. It was really embarrassing. And so, yeah, it was just knowing that, being on a 4-week camp in Font-Romeu with, everyone locked into their own training is really fucking boring, and I don't want to do it again. And I don't enjoy that training. I enjoy, being surrounded by my teammates, being with my missus and being in Albuquerque where I know all the trails and, they have fantastic facilities. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to Font-Romeu again, because I feel like I wasn't in the best frame of mind after that, which isn't, everyone's so different. Like some people love Font, but I just wasn't used to it. I'd never been on a British athletics camp before, and it just didn't work for me. So I just had to say to them, look, guys, when this happens next time, I can't do that. And they're very accommodating. British athletics are like, whatever you need to do, like, you just let us know and we'll try and help out. And so they've been great with that. But that was a big thing I learned was, there was like no Wi-Fi. I didn't bring my computer. So I was just sitting there in my bed all day, like just waiting for the session. When the session was done, I was like, I have nothing to do for the rest of the day. And so that was really boring, because I normally have, I lived with, 3 of my best mates in college, and, we were like chilling all day, or like we were going out and doing stuff, and everyone else was like napping and things like that. And so it was just boring for me. And so I looked about who I was for pre-camp, and I've never gone on a British Athletics pre-camp again. And so, yeah, that was like a big thing I learned. And then it was just about, not getting psyched out by big names. It's very easy to know when, the qualifying round that I was in was insane. I look back at it now and I was like, I still don't think I'd be able to get out of that freaking like round. I think I had like 3 Olympic champs in one race. I think we had McLuffy, Kiprop, I had Nick Willis in there, and I had Centro. And so I was just like, what am I going to do? And so I psyched myself out a little bit there, but that was about it, really. Yeah. I did enjoy it. It was a fun champs, but yeah, wasn't my finest performance.
Yeah, it was a great championships, to be fair. But yeah, obviously a lot to take out, and it really is. You really do throw yourself in the deep end when your first major championships. You look into your left and your right, and you're up against Olympic champions. I still remember running in Tokyo. I was I was going pretty terrible at the time, but I'm just thinking this is not going to go my own way here, but hopefully I take something out of it. I feel like the typical way to turn pro is to win a couple of NCAA championships, and then you usually make a British, a USA team. Was there any talk after World Champs or even after NCAA outdoors that year that you were potentially going to transition into a pro? And if there was, why didn't you end up taking that and end up pushing it out till a year later?
So I didn't so Danny was at London 2017 because I think Katie was there and Drew was there as well. Obviously, there were Brooks athletes at the time. And so Danny was there, and I think my college coach, Joe, who flew over for London, I think they went on a night out after I got knocked out. And so, like, the relationship was very much like they knew each other well, and I'm sure the questions were asked at that point. But I think Joe wanted to keep me for a little bit longer, which made sense. I don't think I was really fully developed quite yet, but those conversations started at the start of 2018. I think I got note that they wanted to offer me a contract January of 2018. They said that they were going to offer me at the end of the year. And so that was a long process for Brooks to, let me know their interest. And, obviously we're not allowed to know numbers or like speak to agents or anything like that. But they knew that if they were going to, help me come out of my NCAA team, that they would have had to, offer me a good enough contract to say, I'm going to forgo the next 2 years of my eligibility. And so that's kind of how it started, was the start of 2018. And so, yeah, that 2017 was probably the one that showed everyone that I was ready to come out of college and start a professional career.
Yeah. And yeah, it obviously ended up being not necessarily a gamble, but a great decision. It worked out to be very good post NCAA's 2018. Before getting into the 2018 season, I feel like obviously 2017 was such a great year, and so was 2018. Can you just run me through a typical week of training, say in a base season, and then also leading up, in the months leading up to a championship? And the only reason why I'm asking that now is because I know, being an international athlete coming all the way to States, it does take a year or two to adjust. So obviously by, the tail end of 2017 to 2018, you're a bit more set up, you're comfortable with your environment. So what was it like for Josh Kerr as 21, 22, being as a New Mexico student?
So yeah, the thing is with New Mexico is I was on quite low mileage, but we do really hard strength sessions. So, for winter training, Tuesdays were, a bit of a track session. We'd maybe do 8 by a K, or we'd do 800 reps or something like that. We're at 5,000 feet here, so we were probably around about that 3-minute mark and just racking those off. And then Fridays we would do these long 10-mile tempos. I think the fastest 10-mile tempo I did in college was, I think, 5:07s. And so at altitude, I was really, really happy with that. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Even as a pro, I haven't done any harder than that. And so in between that, Mondays, we would run probably 8 miles. I don't know how many miles we'd get on a Tuesday, maybe 8 or 9. Wednesday, I would run 6. Thursday, I would run 8 again. Friday, we'd probably get 12 with warm up and warm down in the long session. Saturday, I'd take off, and Sunday, I'd normally run 12 miles. So I would probably be around about that 50-mile mark for most of my college career. I started off at 30 or 35 when I first came. And so that was a bit of a jump for me to jump up to 50. And because I never really counted mileage before getting to college. But yeah, that would be typical. We'd be in the gym Tuesday, Friday, but we wouldn't be doing much. It was normally after a hard session, and everyone was kind of clocked out at that point. And so it was just mostly maintain work.
Yep. Okay. So nothing specific, just more that you were just getting consistent mileage. I think the biggest surprise is that I feel like a lot of your races are based on that strength. So the fact that you're, able to be such a strength runner, only doing 50 miles, I think is pretty impressive. And yeah, I'm assuming that now it's probably similar, but we'll get into that, post-college talk. I think another thing which really stood out for me at the end of 2017 and the start of 2018 was that you were a lot more outspoken, and obviously you had the runs on the board. You'd gone to the World Championships. You'd had 2 NCAA championships. You'd ran 3:35.9 at Azusa. So you had the runs on the board. But I feel like a lot of people in athletics, specifically middle distance to distance, they try to sway away from being outspoken. They try to sway away from saying, hey, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, I'm going to go for the NCAA record. I feel like, leading into that 2018 season, you started to be a lot more on Flow Track or Let's Run or even interviews. Was there any reason that specifically changed the mindset? And was there any reason why you were more aligned saying, hey, I'm going to go out and, beat this person and run this record?
I think it came, Joe Franklin, the coach at UNM, still the coach at UNM now, he realized that having a higher profile is going to get a higher paycheck at the end of your career. And so it was he was the one pushing the flow track stuff and, bringing those guys along and kind of helping me build that profile a little bit. And then it just came with, just having a bit of fun. Like I really enjoy racing at high stakes. Like that's, I won't really race a lot of races that are boring to me. If they're boring, like if I go to a college meet like last week where it's BU, I'm gonna try and put some more pressure on myself because it doesn't motivate me to go out and run like a mediocre race. I would rather put a lot of things on the line and then say I'm going to do something and then try and do it because it is difficult. But to be honest, it was just like, the more people who know who I am, the higher the paycheck's going to be. And I felt like we were on a bit of a roll, and everyone knows that. Like once you have some really good performances and you really, get into your rhythm with racing, it's kind of easier to know that the big performances are going to continue to come rather than, having a couple of bad ones. And, then you get a bit more nervous. But yeah, I think it was just like, let's have some fun. Let's call some people out. And I feel like I was reasonably dominant in the NCAA at that point. And so I was really happy with where I was at. I was like, the more attention I get, the more money hopefully I'm going to get offered at the end of this career.
Yeah, it was literally so they were pretty much business decisions.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, mate. But no, there's obviously a lot more on the line, and I get in trouble a little bit from people like coaches and family members to say, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. But I think it just makes it, we entertain, like we are entertainment at the end of the day. And if you're watching me race and I run like 3:45 and just win it with like, a last 400 meter kick, that's not entertainment. Like I don't think that's really fun to watch. And so if we're asking all these people to pay full track subscriptions and pay these, all this money to watch us race, then we've got to put a show on, and that's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. 2018, you started off the year with an NCAA championship in the indoor mile. But I think what's more impressive of that championship was in that year, you ran the DMR between the heat of the mile and the final. And I remember watching that DMR, and I think you got the baton in maybe third or fourth or close to the front. And I was thinking, awesome. Josh Kerr is just going to go and dominate these guys. And I'm just going to be honest, you ran so poorly. I think you finished in like a 4:10 mile or something like that to the DMR. And I just thought, oh no, like he's going to be absolutely cooked for the mile final. He ended up coming out and dominating the NCAA mile in the final. What was like? How were you able to get that mindset? Were you able to run so poorly and then able to turn it around? Was it the same day or was it the next day?
It was the next day. Yeah, it was the next day of the mile final.
How were you able to change that mindset 24 hours apart?
I think if all of my NCAA in 2018, if all of my if there was a behind the scenes like documentary of that championships, it would be pretty insane. Like, so I feel really good. We go out and I win my mile prelim. And, I jog off and my coach goes, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm going to run the DMR because I didn't run it the year before because I was, the goal was to beat Ches. And so I was like, you know what? Like it's a pretty similar team and these guys have worked super hard to get here. Let's go out and try and win an NCAA title. And we were kind of going back and forth with, I was going to maybe run the 3K qualifying time a couple of weeks before. And then, so we spoke to we spoke to I spoke to my coach and I was like, do you think that's going to up my value if I try and win the 3K and the mile? And they said no. And he said no. And so I was like, okay, like what about the DMR? And he was like, yeah, that would up your value. So this is all in my head. Like, how can I get as much money as possible at the end of this year? Because I already had been told that I'm going to get offered a contract. So I was like, what do you think Brooks would want more? Like a mile on a DMR or a mile on a 3K? And they were like, mile DMR. I was like, okay, perfect. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to run the DMR. We went back to the hotel. And so we had like 2 hours in between the mile final and the DMR. And no one knows this. So like, I hope people who roast me on Let's Run actually find the truth out here. So I go back to the hotel. I eat a bunch of food for no reason. I like Normatec. And then I come back to the track because they're like, they know that if they know that I'm running the last leg, some of the teams might rest their best milers for the next day. And so I just got out there to like make sure that they didn't know. And so everyone put their teams in. I come back. I don't really warm up all that much because I was already kind of warmed up. I jogged at the hotel, so no one knew that I was getting ready. And so I come back, get ready to run the DMR. And so in the first 2 laps, I start cramping in my stomach. Yeah, okay. And you can probably see in the video. I haven't watched the video back because it's the most embarrassing thing ever.
Now, bad races for me don't exist on YouTube ever.
Yeah, I mean they've got to be deleted at some point. That's the goal. Yeah. I was like, I had the baton in my right hand, and so it would have been my left side that was sore. And so I looked at my coach, and he was like 50 meters away from the start line, and I was just tapping my stomach, and I was just like this. I was like, no, like this is not going well, and I'm just cramping up. And so I'm like tightening up, and I was like, no, just like breathe through it. And then I'm just tightening up, and I feel like complete shit. And so I ran as hard as I could have, and I ran 4:10, and I become last. So my teammates are all pissed off at me. They're like, what happened? And I was like, I told them what happened. And what happened next? Yeah. So I leave, and then I'm getting a bunch of treatment, and they say I've strained my oblique, right? And so I've now strained my oblique. And so I go home, I then get a bunch more treatment. I get up the next morning, and my coach's like, how is it? And I was like, this is horrible. So I go for like a shakeout, and then we're like, I come back, I'm like, I'm not doing the mile final. Like, I can't do it. And so they like nearly pull me out at the mile final. And then he's like, no, I'm not pulling you out. Like, just go and try. Like, if it happens again, it happens again. And I was like, all right, fine. So he takes me and he jogs me in my warm up. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And he's like, just do some drills. And so I do some drills, and it like gets a little bit better. And then so he's like walking with me to pretty much pull out of the mile final. And then we're like getting close to the call room, and he just kind of like pushes me in. And so I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like pretty much like, yeah, Josh, you're running the mile final. Like I mean, worst comes to worst, you embarrass yourself in front of like all the people who want to pay you in, 3-4 months time. I was like, you dick. And so I was really angry. And so I don't know, at the end of the race, you can see me. I'm still fucking so angry at my coach.
You literally like.
So I'm just staring at the like camera like this. And so, yeah, it was like everyone was telling me that I gave up. And I was so embarrassed because I was like, I would never give up on my teammates. I chose to do it. I didn't have to do it. Like the guy who was there to be my substitute in the mile. And so I get really upset when people say that I gave up. Because like any teammate who's had me knows that I would never do that. And so, yeah, I strained my oblique. I don't know what the hell that means, but that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know you'd strain your oblique. I didn't know any of that backstory. But one thing I definitely knew was that you didn't give up.
No.
But even still, like I just assumed that something was wrong or you were just cooked from the heat. But regardless, you came back the next day and ended up dominating the mile. So, I mean, it's the kind of jokes on everyone else. Obviously, not the DMR success that you would have wanted, but it is what it is.
I'm just going to get roasted for DMRs for the rest of my life, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. That works.
All right. So 2018 outdoors, one of your first races, I think at Azusa again, you broke the NCAA 1500 meter record, 3:35. Was it 3:35? Yeah.
35:01 or 02 or something.
35:01. And then at NCAA Outdoors, just beforehand, you infamously said that you were going to break the NCAA record again in the final, or maybe even the heat.
I said that after the heat, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And maybe this was the start of the rivalry, but that was where Hoare beat you in the NCAA finals and kind of put Ollie on the radar. And, don't want to, gloss over too quickly, but obviously after NCAAs, I think you finished third, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, third at Oregon. And then the talk was, Josh Kerr going pro. And I don't think it's too much of a secret, but your contract with Brooks ended up being, I think, one of the biggest collegiate athlete contracts going pro. And yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm breaking any secrets there. I think it was pretty well reported and well known at the time. And, obviously you've got an NDA, so I'm not asking numbers or anything like that. But when you went pro, I think even myself personally, and I think other people around, I think that going to Brooks was, I just didn't expect you to sign with Brooks. And when I heard that you'd gone with Brooks, I was like, okay, that's not what I expected at all. I just expected the typical Nike to Bowerman, Nike to Oregon project or something like that. A lot of the conversations that we've been having has pretty much been around money. Was money your only decision in going in the group that you went to? And what other groups were you speaking to or were you keen on coming out of college? And then, sorry, 3 different questions. And then why was it Danny in the end?
So I think, I was able to obviously get Brooks offered me a great contract. I think in terms of international students coming out of a US college, it was big, but like compared to, all these crazy Americans coming out of college, they obviously got bigger contracts than myself. But to be honest, I got offered similar numbers, I think, from different companies. But it was, the contract was written.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. They offer the contract that they probably wrote in January. And so they know who I am. It didn't change because I was third at NCAAs, and they know what kind of athlete I was. And that just wasn't my day. And, going back to the passing of the torch to Mr. Hoare, Ches gave it to me to rule the 1500 for a while, and I passed it on to Ollie for a little bit. And I think, Ollie then passes it to Geordie, and then Geordie passes it. So it's been, to Nagoose and Hawker and all sorts. So yeah, that's the kind of way it goes. And, when it comes to contracts, Brooks, they're a phenomenal brand. And, those conversations, they presented to my parents, what they wanted to do with me and the contract that they wanted to give me. And it was a very family oriented field. And they said, you know what, like we're going to be your son's kind of route to success in Olympics, World Championships, and we're going to hold him to, a high standard. And that was the reason I went with them, was because like they're a running only brand, and they have a coach that was, first of all, hardworking. Second of all, knew how good I was, which is difficult. Because, in my head, I was like, I can be Olympic champion. And it's when you're a 335 guy, it's difficult for sometimes coaches to see that future. But he saw a real good potential in me. And third, he's, a clean cut, a guy that I know I can trust my career with him. And so, yeah, Danny was the reason that I signed with Brooks, and is continuing, obviously the same reason I'm still here. But yeah, it was just like the whole thing, like the way the company's oriented, the amount of athletes they have. Right now we've got 12, 13 athletes on the Brooks Beast team. We have an assistant coach. We have a full-time athletic trainer. We have a full-time nutritionist. Like it's a great setup, and the brand was just making moves. They have the best, the highest selling trainer in the US market right now in the Ghosts. And so we sell a great training shoe, and yeah, most recently we have one of the fastest spikes on the market. So yeah, everything just pointed towards it being a fruitful but also honest and hardworking career that I can go into, Brooks HQ, and everyone knows who I am. And that's not because of the amazing times I run or like big performances. They know every single beast because they're just interested in the sport and they love being a part. So we work with every different department. We have a meeting at the start of every year with every single department, and how we fit into the Brooks model. So yeah, it's difficult to get that small company feel, but also have, the budget to make it, a career that's, pretty fruitful.
Yeah. And with when you talked about budget there, do say for the people that are new to the new to the group and say don't have a big contract or anything like that, if do Brooks usually look after a lot of travel and accommodation and physio and medical and all that stuff as well?
So every contract's different, but being part of the Brooks Beasts, you're obviously all of that's covered. Yeah, that's the amazing thing is we, I'm trying to see if I can walk a line here. We have very clear-cut contracts where they have a lot of belief in their athletes. And so there was never a doubt of, through COVID, everyone kept their job, no one got cut. And I think that's just a very respectful way to work, knowing that you're pushing boundaries for a company that has had belief in you, and regardless of how you do, they're still going to pay you the same amount, which means it's amazing for us to stand on a start line about to make your first or one of your last big teams. That regardless of the outcome, you're still going to get respected by that company. And so, yeah, it's a very nice environment to be in. And I think it promotes amazing performances.
Yeah, absolutely. And just run me through the setup quickly. You've obviously gone through your relationship with Danny. It seems like it's a guy that you can trust your whole life with, trust your running career with. Run me just through what the team setup's like and the professionalism that the Brooks Beast brings as well.
Yeah, Danny's created a phenomenal team, and I'm very proud to be part of his team. Based out of Seattle, the HQ's there. We spend a lot of time in there, and mingling with the employees and working with the marketing department and working with Spikes and so yeah, I mean we meet 5 times a week, and then most of us meet the other 2 as well anyway. Most of the team live together, everyone gets on, and so that's the kind of environment you're looking for progress and big performances. But yeah, it's a slow recruiting process. They're very specific. It's not a blanket approach with athletes. It's are you going to fit with the team, and then do you have the talent to be good enough on this team? And I think that way of recruiting really helps us create that team dynamic that we all really want, which is turn up every day at work and be happy to be there.
Yep. And with just say in a calendar year or an athletic season, what's the setup like with basing in Seattle, training camp, European? How does the whole year usually work in a season where you've got indoors and say an international major championship as well?
Yeah, so I mean, we start every year late September, start of October. So those September, October, November, December, and then start of January, we're in Seattle for that 4 months, just over 4 months. And then we do our first camp normally in Albuquerque, mid-January through USA indoors or British indoors or whatever that kind of date is. And so that date this year was at the end of Feb. Then we normally have 2 weeks of downtime where you can go and see family or, continue to train in Seattle or kind of go wherever you want really. But obviously you have to be sensible, and we're still training, and we're just kind of getting a bit of relaxed time from the team. We start up training again, was it March 13th? And so we're going to be in Seattle for probably a month, and then we're going to go to Albuquerque for the second camp. And then some people will stay there up until 2 weeks out from USA's, and some people will come down a little bit earlier. And now we have an assistant coach. It's a bit easier to be in 2 places at once for Danny. But yeah, I'll be in Albuquerque for the majority of the time before British champs. And then after that, it's about who makes a team, who doesn't. And then people will race maybe the European scene. And so everyone's kind of all over the place from there. And then we'll break it down from, mid-August to end of August. So we'll call it a season, and then about a month of chill time. And then we start up again. So that's normally how the year works.
Pro group can have such flexibility with running Europeans, like a European season, the American season, and then also having that flexibility to have an assistant coach. So you've got 2 eyes in 2 continents, at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a quick one, which you kind of touched on there earlier, and I messaged your co-host Dave Rivich before this, and I said, "Is there anything that anything that I can kind of talk on?" And I expected that he was going to give me like some naughty secrets or a bit of skeletons in the closet type thing, but he actually said something really interesting, and you kind of touched on this as well when you were talking about your why you signed with Brooks, and it was a family cell approach. And I thought that it was really good because I feel like at times in my athletic career, it's been similar. But what he said is that your why for athletics is very different. Although you do seem to be an athlete that, it's all about your personal success, your why is a lot more than that. Your why seems to be with you're running because of your family, because of your brother, because of your fiance. And I just thought that was really, I don't know, sentimental and just really nice because realistically, your family's been there since day dot. Now your fiance's with you every single day. Was there a time in your career where you started to run more for them, or has it always been something which has been instilled from you from day one?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think what Dave's trying to get at is like that medal last summer was not really for me. It was like payback, all the hard work that my parents did over the years, payback, the continued motivation that my brother gives me every day, that I'm paying back to him to make sure he's out the door every morning to, be the best athlete that he can and to prove to, my fiance that I'm worth being around and that I can create a life for us that is exciting and that, we can, obviously over Christmas is when I proposed, but it was like, I can create a life for us that, you want to be a part of. And so, I don't really do it for myself. I do it for, all those moments that everyone else worked hard for. I'm just the end result. I'm just, if everyone does all these amazing things for me, it's almost a disservice not to give it everything that I've got to make sure that I'm that number one guy. And, someone's got to be the best in the world at this. Why not me? And so, I've been brought up to be a champion. And so anything less than that is a disservice to everyone else's hard work around me.
Yeah, it's I really like that story is because obviously in 2017 I went back to being coached by my mum, and it was, even though my mum is a great coach, a lot of that preparation leading into Com Games and then a lot of the preparation into 2019, I had my dad on the bike, I had my sister getting my 200 splits, mum coaching and getting my 400 splits. So it just felt like a team thing. So when Dave said that, I was like, wow, that's it's just awesome. And it was, I suppose, a little bit relatable. And I also like the idea, I listened to a podcast recently that when you got your bronze medal, you took it back to Scotland, you went and saw every single one of your junior coaches, you did clinics with people, and I think that a lot of that people might just see Josh Kerr as the professional athlete that's outspoken and confident, but they don't see the Josh Kerr that's running for someone else other than themselves and then giving back to the athletics club.
I think it's important. It really is. Like going back home was massively important, and because what my job is to bridge that gap between, every Tuesday and Thursday I'm out at Meadowbank running for Edinburgh AC, working really hard. And then I'm watching these Edinburgh AC athletes on a world stage doing really well, but there's no in between because none of us really train there. And so I'm trying to provide that middle step to be like, all you need to do is, be really thoughtful in your next steps, like the university that you choose, or if you don't go to university, what brand to choose and what you can do to be in our position, because there's no point of us being there and pretending, just because we're wearing an Edinburgh AC vest that everyone's then going to continue to get there. Our goal, I know that Jake Whiteman and Chris Hoare was really good at this. It's like, how can we bridge that gap? Because Chris was the one that bridged the gap to get to university for me, and then bridged the gap to get to professional. And then I want to be able to bridge those gaps back for those athletes, because everyone works so hard, but no one really knows how to get there. And so, that was a fun time to go back and take that medal back. And we were there for hours. I was putting the medal on every kid, and they were loving it. And it was great, but it took a while. And it was just one of those things. It's like, I'm not going to stop doing this until someone doesn't want it. And I feel like that's our job. If we're going to continue to be proud of this club success that we have, let's keep giving back to that club that's given us that success.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really awesome to hear about that.
This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is brought to you by Pillar Performance, Australia's leading sports micronutrition brand. Head to pillarperformance.com.au to learn more about their formulas and how they support recovery, elevate energy, and relieve joint inflammation.